Election integrity has been a big question. Election security is what we should be talking about. There was an op-ed piece that has been written in the Arizona Republic by a woman that was the county recorder for over 30 years. Her name is Helen Purcell, defending our election system and saying that she knows how that the elections are secure, and here's how she knows. Well, joining us to talk about the issue of elections and election security is a guy that was in the United States Congress twice. He is also ran for governor and has been involved in politics in Arizona for, I'm guessing, over 30 years. It's Matt Salmon. Welcome back, Matt.
Hey, Mike. Thanks a lot for having me.
Let's talk about, first of all, let's start with why is this an issue that you felt compelled to speak out about?
Well, I've been asked to join a new organization that's being led by a bipartisan group of former elected officials. And it's stationed here in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, New Hampshire, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And it's a pretty terrific group of folks that I'm working with. We're actually comprised on the board of directors. Here in Arizona, Jan Brewer and I, Daniel Hernandez, and Jonathan Lyons, we're on the board for Arizona. And it's just, Mike, as I deal with a lot of friends who I know a lot of them are mutual friends of both mine and yours that talk about their belief that the elections aren't secure and that the election in 2020 and 2022 were stolen. It bothers me for a whole host of reasons, but I think first and foremost, I think it makes people feel that their vote doesn't count. And I think that actually, and I think we've seen this in some of the elections, that people stay home because they don't believe that their vote is secure, and so they don't want to vote. And that's a tragedy. And so I think that's one of the reasons. I think besides that, I think that if you believe that your vote is compromised, I think it means that our democracy is compromised.
You know, the other side to that, Matt, is this, and you know this as a candidate. I've never been a candidate for office and probably never will be. But as a candidate in the Republican Party in the last few years, there has been a purity test, and there's been one test, and that is, do you believe the election was stolen? And almost any candidate who did not say, yes, I believe it was stolen, automatically was out in the primary and had no chance of winning. Do you believe that purity test still is alive inside the Republican Party?
Oh, yeah. I think it's still alive and well, and I think it's being pushed, in virtually all the Republican activist circles, not just in Arizona, but in other parts of the country, too. And I think it's a tragedy, Mike, because as you and I have spoken about before, it takes our eye off the ball for other really, really important issues that are killing us as a nation. And I've talked to you about this before, the spending issue, that I think it's gotten people to take their eye off the ball and focus more on chasing, rabbits down rabbit holes instead of focusing on the job at hand, and that is to govern.
What does it say to you? Because how many years have you been involved in Republican politics in Arizona in one capacity or another?
Close to 40 years, Mike. I've been a precinct committeeman for close to 40 years. And I ran for the state senate back in 1989 and got elected in 1990. From that time, I served for 4 years in the state senate, and then I served for 6 years after that in the U.S. Congress. I kept my term limit pledge, and I left. And Mike, in 2002, I was the Republican nominee for governor. Ran against a very talented candidate, Attorney General at the time, Janet Napolitano, and I lost by less than 1%. It was 11,000 votes. Now, in the last election, Carrie Lake lost to Katie Hobbs by 17,000 votes. Mine was closer than hers if you look at straight vote count. And it hurt really bad. I wanted to. I would have loved to have figured out some reason other than the fact that maybe I didn't run as good of a campaign as I should have, that I lost that campaign. And there were a lot of folks who came to me and encouraged me to question the integrity of that election. And I made the decision that, for the good of the state, I was going to accept those election results. I conceded, I congratulated Napolitano, and life goes on. And honestly, that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Matt Salmon is joining us. Matt Salmon is a former member of the United States Congress, also gubernatorial candidate here in Arizona. So tell us about this and what people need to know about election security. We say election integrity, but election security, how confident are you, and why do you have that confidence that in Maricopa County especially, elections are secure?
Well, for one thing, that op-ed that was written by Helen Purcell, I think that's a gold standard. She was probably the most knowledgeable, talented person when it comes to elections in Maricopa County of anybody I've ever known. And I've had conversations with Helen. I've had conversations with the incumbent that's in there now. I went down to the audit when, Ken Bennett was the liaison with the Arizona State Senate when they were running that audit by the ninjas or whatever their name was. The fact is, and then my buddy John Shadegg was hired as a special master to come in and look at the election machines, and he came out and gave it the good housekeeping seal of approval. And the fact is, you won't find somebody that bleeds red more than John Shadegg. His dad was the campaign manager for Barry Goldwater, the father of conservative politics here in the United States. So, and by statute, you have to have at least 3 bipartisan workers who are paid individuals at each election site, and they cannot have more than one of each party. That is by statute. And then each of the parties is sending observers to each of the locations as well. Now, those are volunteers, but virtually every voter location is stationed with folks that are putting their eyes on that process and making sure that it's fair. And that's all the way across the board. It's easy to basically get an audit of those machines. They can be inspected before. The voting machines can be inspected before the election, after the election. I just think there's so many checks and balances. Have some things happen in the last few years to even bolster my confidence more? Yeah. I think some of the new laws that have been passed where they cleaned out the records and, several things that have been done, I believe have really made me confident that our election process, are there isolated circumstances where there's cheating going on? Probably so. And there was in the last election, but not even close to enough to make a difference in the way the elections turned out.
Matt, I always like you taking bold stances. I know that, it's got to be difficult. It has been a little difficult for me, but I've not been nearly as involved as you have been all these years to have people that have been standing shoulder to shoulder with you for years now be on opposite sides of the street. And some of the things that have been said about you have been uncalled for. But I appreciate your bold stance on things, and I wanted to give you a chance to speak this morning. I think it's an important issue, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. We still got to go shooting.
Yeah, we do. I know. We keep saying it. We got to get it done. I appreciate it, Matt. I will reach out to you after the show today. We'll set it up.
I got a new staccato you want to try.
All right, we're on it. I cannot wait. I can't wait. That is thanks, man. That's Matt Salmon, former gubernatorial candidate, member of Congress. Just thinks that people need to understand why our elections are secure.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.